welcome to the Hoop Collective podcast. We talk about the NBA, which we're doing on Monday morning, slightly after midnight, because Tim Bontemps was in New York at the Knicks and Bulls game on Sunday evening, where the Knicks gave the Bulls their first loss of the season. Tim Bontemps.
That's true. No more undefeated teams in the East, though I think the reason we actually did it this late was that and our guys traveling again. Our guys everywhere.
That is true. Our man, Band McMahon, was flying to Houston, and as is his custom, he always takes the last possible flight and flies to the farthest possible airport. Joining us from Houston is Band McMahon.
First of all, lots of false information there. I took the second to last possible flight. Not the latest, but howdy, partners. It's a pleasure to be here. My first road trip of the regular season. The Mavs opened up with 5 straight, and I did skip the trip to Mexico City.
Which is interesting because you missed the Mavs getting absolutely worked by the Pistons there.
But I watched a lot of college football.
Yes. I was going to say something, but I won't. Okay. Tonight, as in Sunday night, the Raptors beat the Grizzlies. Needed win for the Raptors. Actually, they won on Friday in Cleveland, but 2 in a row. But Ja Morant did not play in this game. Mr. McMahon, your Memphis Grizzlies suspended him for conduct detrimental. What sounds to me like both his comments after the game on Friday, in addition to maybe what he's in his public comments, and also additionally to what he potentially said privately to members of the coaching staff. But Ja is, for a third straight season, dealing with suspension. And now that is something that is a situation to bear watching. He is off to a healthy start. He actually has not missed any games this season due to health or previous issues. But he's not played his best basketball, and especially shooting. He did have a game winner in Phoenix just like 48 hours before this, but I guess those good vibes went away pretty quickly. So McMahon, what is the state of the Grizzlies with this latest Ja situation?
Well, notably, this is a team suspension. It's certainly not as long as the league suspensions, but this is a sign of, hey, his act is wearing thin in Memphis. And people could say, oh, it's just a 1-game suspension. You're overreacting. Look, for it to get to the point where they feel like it is necessary to hold Ja this publicly accountable tells you there's been some buildup. And I would say there's been years of buildup here. And look, this comes on the heels of a summer where there were no discussions about a Ja Morant extension. Just, unlike Jaren Jackson Jr., where he got one the second that they could possibly give it to him. And there's been a lot of talk within the league about, hey, the Grizzlies are building this thing around Jaren Jackson Jr. and, let's see what happens with Ja Morant. I don't know. I don't want to be dramatic and say it's a point of no return. I can't say that with confidence, but it is an awfully significant step for a franchise that many times over the years has been perceived to be extremely reluctant to hold Ja Morant accountable.
It feels like it should be a point of no return. I mean, we'll see if it is a point of no return ultimately. But, we talked a lot this summer about the Desmond Bane trade, obviously, right? And the direction that sent the Grizzlies in. And we've repeatedly gone back to the comments Zach Kleiman made.
Well, actually, I have them right here. I just wanted, so Grizzlies finish in the play-in last year. Don't advance to the playoffs. I think they won 48 games.
They advanced. They just didn't win a game in the playoffs. They got smoked by the Thunder and let them get a nice little break between the first and second round.
Okay, that's right. It was so insignificant.
And Ja got hurt in Game 3 when they were up big, but they got swept by the Thunder.
I don't remember anything about that series. So what does that say? Okay, so
if I didn't cover the series, I might not either. It was not a memorable series.
Right. So Zach Kleiman, the general manager, came out and said, I don't think we can look back at this series and this season and say, oh, we're close. We're not close. There's a lot of work to be done. He said, there's a lot to sort through here. 48 wins, good for an 8th seed, but who cares? It's not good enough. Okay, those were the very, harsh reality comments in April. Then in June, they trade Desmond Bane for draft picks. I realized that they then used the draft picks to pick up Cedric Coward, who is a bright spot for them. And so you could argue that they were going and getting a player immediately, but that was a rebuild trade.
Yep.
Then they did not extend Ja Morant's contract. There was nobody talking about that because nobody actually thought that they would extend Ja Morant's contract. But those three things happened, unless I'm forgetting something else, McMahon.
Well, and then the other thing I would add is that Zach Kleiman at Media Day, I thought was very to the point about saying, hey, this is a big year for Ja. Basically, for this version of the Grizzlies to go anywhere, and I'm paraphrasing here, but they need Ja Morant to be a consistent, reliable All-NBA performer. And by the way, he has not for the last few years been consistent, reliable, or All-NBA. You know, like this isn't just about, okay, wow, they're finally holding Ja accountable. I would say this is about the pain in the ass to production ratio being out of whack. His production does not justify the pain in the ass stuff.
I mean, I'm not even sure he's a top 10 point guard in the league. I mean, it's an incredibly deep position, but you know.
Well, he's a top 10 talent.
Right.
No,
but
I'm not sure he is. I'm not sure he's a top 10 talent either.
Talent, no question.
Production, he's one of the most talented players in the league.
No, first of all, he absolutely is not at this point.
He absolutely is.
No, he's not.
Talent he is.
He's a point guard. Hold on.
No,
wait a second. Let's just stop. I'm saying we need to really examine the situation. Ja Morant is a point guard who doesn't really play defense and can't really shoot. And he's not nearly as athletic as he was a couple years ago. All right. So at one point, he was one of the most electrifying players in the league, unquestionably. Mm-hmm. I would absolutely not say he's one of the most talented players in the league at this point. And I don't think he's certainly not among the 5 best point guards in the league. I'm not sure he's among the 10 best. Like, I would just say flat out, Darius Garland at this point, I'd rather have Darius Garland than Ja Morant. For Darius Garland is not a perfect player by any means, but Darius Garland's an offensive engine by himself. He's a way better shooter. Like, Ja is, again, in a league where everybody's relying on shooting now. He doesn't really shoot it. He doesn't guard. He's not really available. And he's not as athletic as he was a couple years ago. So, you know, like, he's still a good player. Like, he obviously had the game winner the other night against Phoenix, had a nice game. Like, I'm not saying he isn't good. There's also a million good point guards in the NBA. We talk about it all the time. We keep talking about how there's not really a need for teams to go get point guards because so many teams have one. But, you know, to your point, McMahon, when you look at this situation, like, where are the Grizzlies going with Ja Morant? Why is it worth dealing with this over and over and over again when they now could potentially have 2 top, 8, 10 picks in this year's draft? They've got Cedric Coward, who looks like a good player. They've got Jalen Wells. They've got Zach Edey. Like, to me, I think you've got to look hard in the mirror about not only trading Ja Morant, but trading Jaren Jackson Jr. Like,
he's just going to blow it all up.
Well, no, but look, like, if you look at where Memphis, look at the Western Conference, okay? Like, go back to what Zach Kleiman said in May. This team is miles away from the Thunder. They're miles away from the Houston Rockets, right? Like, they're nowhere near those teams right now. So is there a window where they're good enough to really be competitive in the next 3 years? I don't know. Like, it's hard to see it.
The simple fact of the matter, you say, where are they going? It's also, where have they gone? They've gone to the second round one time. And, you know, we find in the West has led to a playoff series victory, one. And look, at this specific issue was Ja quiet quitting on the floor for the world to see.
Yeah.
Like,
And I would say it
what
was
he
loud
did,
quitting. It was
yeah,
obvious.
what he did in the second half was absolutely against the Lakers in that loss was absolutely embarrassing. And there's like genius IQ stats about his average speed that was the slowest for him in any game since
I have them
November
right
20.
here if you want me to
Yeah.
read them.
They're boring, but they're really, really. He basically was walking around, jacking up bad jump shots and moping. And, apparently he's got some kind of beef with Tuamasi Asalo, which, okay, dude, they ran out. Now, Taylor Jenkins was a separate deal because basically he had his legs cut out from under him when Zach Kleiman hired Asalo and Noah LaRoche the summer before. But they can Noah LaRoche, who was making seven figures and running that offense because Ja hated the offense. So they tried to, and that's the thing. I want to talk about, hey, you're trying to hold Ja accountable now. You've done a lot of kissing his butt over the years, and that is one of many, many examples.
Here's what he said after the game, just so in case people haven't heard. It's football weekend. He was asked after the Laker game, what could have gone differently, and he said, "Go ask the coaching staff." And he was asked what could have been done differently other than asking the coaching staff. He says, according to them, probably don't play me.
Right, because what happened was Isalo, and this is a guy who, look, he's relatively anonymous for your average fan and honestly NBA player as well. He's got 9 games of head coaching experience in the NBA leading into this season. Young guy, obviously from Europe. But he watches that. He's coaching that second half. He sees Ja quitting. It's obvious. And so he's not, tippy-toeing around. He goes in the locker room and confronts him in front of the entire team, which, I saw a clip. I don't know when this was recorded, but him talking about like he came around to this philosophy. This was the clip was on Twitter in March. So this is, a while, but basically saying, hey, when there's something that the entire team sees and aware of, I'm going to address that in front of the entire team. I'm going to hold guys accountable like that, which, you can say, hey, that might work in Europe. I don't know if it works in the NBA. Well, hey, this guy's trying to make sure that there is a culture set in Memphis. And if you can't hold Ja accountable, you have zero chance. Now, you might argue you have zero chance to dictate what the culture is going to be as long as Ja's on the roster, which I want to get into that. Bontemps, you say trade him. Here's the problem.
Guys, well, I didn't say trading him. I didn't say trading him was easy.
Yeah, I don't think there's much. Like, you guys talk to people. I talk to people. Do you find a lot of people that believe there's going to be some robust market if they do shop Ja Morant?
No, I don't think there is one. I mean, and I think for a couple of reasons. One is all the things we just talked about. The second is he's just not that much of a difference maker at the position, and it's a loaded position.
Darius Garland. You mentioned Darius Garland. I'm looking at. You made me think about this. I'm looking at the 2019 draft, which was heralded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right. That was the famous lottery where that went to commercial, and it was New Orleans, Memphis, Knicks, and Lakers, and it was like, oh my. Here's the top 10.
Zion sitting there.
Here's the top 10 of that draft. Zion 1, Ja 2, RJ Barrett 3, DeAndre Hunter 4, Darius Garland 5, Jarrett Culver out of the league 6, Kobe White having a renaissance 7, Jackson Hayes 8, Rui Hachimura 9, Cam Reddish 10 out of the league.
Wow.
Now, on a redraft, I not want to do that fully right now. On a redraft, who's going 1 today?
Probably Darius Garland. And despite the fact he has his own durability issues. But, like, let's just be honest, man. Ja and Zion, they are so talented, and they've both had these just extremely bright flashes of brilliance, but they bring a lot of baggage. They've got major durability issues, and neither one of them has really won.
Nope.
Zion hasn't won at all. Ja
We'll talk
has not.
about
I mean, and
Pelicans
look,
in a minute.
3 years
Well,
ago, we all thought the Grizzlies were going to be contenders for,
Well, they
you know,
finished second 2 years in a row, right? They had the 2 seed 2 years in a row.
yeah, and the second time they finished second is the year that he got himself suspended 25 games, and they got completely embarrassed by the Lakers in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, like they, as a team, quiet quit in Game 6, getting their butts eliminated.
Yeah. Look, I'm sure. I don't know if they're I think they're trying. I think this suspension probably was an effort to save it.
It's also a statement. Hey, we've got this coach's back.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I don't think you can say the track record is a track record, but let's see. He's coming back. Let's see what happens.
Well, and again, I think it's worth going back to McMahon's point about the pain versus production meter.
Yeah, it's the juice is worth the squeeze.
Yes, and I want to go through a list of point guards. I want to see where we actually rank Ja Morant. To go back to your question, to your comment earlier about him being one of the most talented players in the league. I don't think he's one of the most talented players at his position.
The one thing I'll say is talent versus would you rather are two separate.
Well, but again, the guy's a career 31% 3-point shooter who doesn't play defense, and his athleticism has started to go.
Well, and I will say that a very scary trend is Ja's finishing in the lane and at
correct.
the rim going down.
So again, just to do the exercise, is Jalen Brunson ahead of Ja Morant?
Obviously,
I'm going through a list of point guards. Is Cade Cunningham ahead of Ja Morant?
Clearly.
Is Steph Curry ahead of Ja Morant?
Obviously.
Is Luka Doncic ahead of Ja Morant?
By a lot.
So that's already 4. We have De'Aaron Fox ahead of Ja Morant. I would say more teams would trade for De'Aaron Fox and Ja Morant. One just did.
But that's not. I mean, we're having two separate discussions.
No, I'm not.
We're talking. Ja is more talented.
That's
in terms
is he
of
more
talent.
Talented than De'Aaron Fox?
Well,
I'm not sure he is.
All right. Well,
I haven't even got to Shea.
Shea's
I haven't counted Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah.
Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
That's 8.
I mean, hey.
Darius Garland. That's 9.
LaMelo Ball, Trae Young is an interest. Those two are interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the realm you're talking about where you first start talking about him. That's borderline top 10.
Talent. There's talent is one thing. Skills are another. Temperament is another. Leadership is another. In terms of talent.
He's not more talented than most of those players.
I don't want to have this argument farther.
He's got a lot. He's got a lot of flaws, and his production is dipping year by year.
Yes, he's still a very good to very good player. It's not that he's not talented, but again, 4 or 5 years ago, you were looking at him as one of the future faces of the league and one of the future faces of that position.
Hell, and now, Nike gave him a signature shoe.
Yes.
This is, I mean, that's all you really need to know.
Yes. And now he's not a guy he's a borderline top 10 point guard with all this other stuff going with him.
But by the way,
you didn't even say Kyrie.
You mentioned the signature shoe, which has actually sold well. And that's also when you talk about, Bontemps, when you talk about, they got to trade him. There's a couple problems with it. One, we've discussed, which is I think it's going to be tough to get more than pennies on the dollar for him. 2, just from a pure business transaction. And I'm sorry, franchises have to consider this. Matter of fact, the business stuff, everything's blown up in Nico's face. We'll get to that later. But the business stuff immediately blew up in his face. And trading Ja Morant in a market like Memphis, where he continues to be extraordinarily popular, I think they're going to have a real hard time putting butts in the seats and generating revenue.
I mean, I would say they're probably already having some trouble doing that. The only reason I think this year in particular is a compelling time to do it is because of where they are positioned. And if they do this right now, they have this Suns pick coming. I know Phoenix just gave the Spurs their first loss. And as Brian said, I think you mentioned earlier, Victor Wembanyama had 9 points, easily his worst game of the season. But the Suns are going to be in the lottery. If the Grizzlies are in the lottery and you get 2 lottery picks in this draft to go with Coward, to go with these other young guys, you can at least pretty quickly start to go back in the other direction. It doesn't have to be a 12 years in the wilderness plan if you're Memphis. But at some point, I think you just have to look at this and sort of go, what is the point? Like, what are we trying to do?
The other thing is, again, Wendy, we will see how Ja responds to this. I would say Ja tends to be pretty thin-skinned and, feels disrespected at a lot of ridiculous things, much less being suspended because the coach called him out in front of the whole team and he snapped back at him and pouted publicly after that. But the risk of not trading Ja is he's got all of this year and 2 more years on his contract. And if it's a miserable situation, I could see it getting really ugly.
Well, the other thing to factor into this whole thing too is, Ja's got a pretty unique representation situation at this point. He recently parted ways with Mike Miller, who'd been his agent, and he's now basically created his own agency. I don't think they've hired a licensed agent yet to operate in it. But if it does get to the point where the Grizzlies think about making a trade, usually a trade like that would at some point involve the agency, and that's not necessarily a easy thing to sort out now either. So Ja's supposed to be back with the team. Ja's supposed to be back with the team Monday. They are home against Detroit on Monday, and we'll see what happens, but it's going to be a interesting situation among many interesting situations that have existed in Memphis the past couple of years with Ja.
Yeah, I don't anticipate that he'll ever ask me for any advice, but I would advise him to go hire an experienced agent at this point. He's going to need one. Well,
he is starting an agency. I'm trying to remember how it was described. Like the concept is for people like him who need his kind of guidance to go my way. And
oh boy,
I'm not sure that,
I don't know that he'll have a lot of clients.
It is just a reminder of how fast this stuff changes. We referenced it earlier, but they were number 1 in the future power rankings 2 years in a row, or two of them in a row.
Well,
it was only a couple of years ago.
It's they draft well. Their business side, considering their challenges, does very well.
Mm-hmm.
They work very hard in that market.
They do a great job of marketing the franchise.
Yeah, they do a really good job of local branding. But their margin for error, your margin for error in a market like Memphis is just very tight.
It's also just a reminder that a lot of times in the NBA, you need to be really lucky, and you're also only going to go as far as your best player is going to take you. And it looked like, again, not too long ago, that Ja Morant was going to be one of those kind of guys. Like he was going to be a Tyrese Halliburton kind of guy, or a Jason Tatum kind of guy, or a Luka Doncic kind of guy that was going to be a guy that was going to be going deep in the playoffs year after year. And instead, he said we're going to be fine in the West, and they have never won anything since.
By the way, in terms of the excitement about the franchise right now, Jackson tells us that you can get tickets. You can get in the door for Pistons at Grizzlies starting at $4. So
there's some good vendors in the arena.
They have what's that? Rendezvous Barbecue's got a
Rendezvous is quite good.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, now the Heat went down. They're 3-3. They went down at the Lakers on Sunday night. Luka is back and had 2 very good games. He had a triple double. Just sort of an average game by his standard. McMahon, he had a triple double and he was only 9 of 22. But
didn't shoot it well. But he's pretty good.
But Austin Reeves had 26 and 11 assists. Austin Reeves, assume would have a strong case to win Player of the Week. Not that that's a priority in November, but he had a ton of assists this week in addition to a bunch of high.
It's been a great
games.
start. Yeah. No joke. It's been an awesome start for the Lakers. Where they sat a week ago with Luka out for a week and LeBron obviously out since the start of the year, for them to be sitting at 5-2 right now, I think.
Yes.
I mean, that's an incredible start.
And because of Austin, they went 2-1 without Luka.
Yeah.
So that was
right, which is massive. Yeah.
By the way, Jake LaRavia, 25 points. That's good. 8 rebounds, 4 steals, gents.
Oh, whoa.
Thought I
The
would
pale
point that
pit
out.
bull. You tried telling us.
Thought I would point it out.
Actually, you know what I noticed? Laravia does have a better tan now, living in Southern California. I guess playing golf with Austin Reeves. He's got a little pigmentation about him now. He did not have that in Memphis.
So Bontemps and I wrote this piece on Friday where we I don't know if it had been reported before, and I'm not saying that we were the first to report it.
I don't think it had, because I actually texted you guys not knowing that you guys were sneaking around behind my back and writing about this. And I asked, hey, are they running?
I actually hered about it in August, but I was just like, let's just see how it goes.
This guy's got so much news, man. He just could chill and wait
but yes, in August, while I was watching Jake Laravia defensive game tape, I heard that Eric Spoelstra had.
When he discovered Laravia's defense, he also discovered the Noah LaRoche offense in Miami.
Yeah. Anyway, Eric Spoelstra over the summer hired Noah LaRoche, who was run out. We just mentioned earlier, run out of Memphis because essentially
Ja didn't want to run a system.
Ja didn't want the offense. He.
But also is an odd offense to run. I mean, a no pick and roll offense when you have Ja Morant is kind of an odd fit. It is, however, a very good fit for the roster that the Heat have, and so far their offense has been very good.
Yeah, so basically, look, there's a lot of offenses down through the history of basketball that are read and react offenses. I mean, I am not a historian of coaching the game, but like if you look at the way that Indiana used to run
the triangle is all. The triangle is all.
Yes, the triangle is. There was no
Red Holtzman Knicks here in New York. The legendary Knicks teams were all about that kind of stuff. The Larry Bird Celtics were like that.
There's no pick and rolls in the triangle. I mean, I would say none, but like that's a read and react offense. So it is different. I'm not, again, I can't go over the finer points about what's difference between the Noah LaRoche offense versus the Tex Winter triangle. But the concept is the same, which is that the players watch what happens on the court and then react to where the ball goes. And there's constant movement and there's no plays. There have been I've talked to scouts this year who have said that there's been entire halves where Eric Spoelstra has not called a play. Not one play call comes from the bench. I had one guy say Eric Spoelstra has called more timeouts than plays this year.
Wow. And the other thing is they are playing breakneck speed.
Right. The speed is a big factor here. Yep. In fact, just in general, like scoring has been really high up. And I was talking to some people over the weekend and they were like, boy, the referees are really letting the guys play. Like, it's very physical out there right now. And I was like, well, then how do you explain the fact that the scoring is still really, really high? And he's like, just because everybody is following through with their, September plan to run. We'll see how long that can hold out.
But especially the Heat, who lead the league in pace by,
they're number one in pace and they're 30th in pick and roll.
Well, and the fact they're putting up these numbers without Tyler Hero, who should be back sometime this month from his foot injury, is, yes, I think that's right. Anyway, I shouldn't say that for certain, but I think he's supposed to be back in the next few weeks. The fact that they're scoring like this without him should give them some optimism that when he does get back, they can maybe be even better and they'll have a chance to be in the mix in the East.
I tell you, who looks phenomenal. Jaime Jaquez Jr.
Yeah, he had a big game today.
Dude, he is just attacking, just playing at incredible tempo, getting downhill. Like guys are bouncing off him. He's finishing the lane. He's shooting better than 60% from the floor. And most of that is attacking off the dribble. He's off to an incredible start.
Yeah, he's not shooting the deep shot, the deep ball. Well, he's never done that. He's not a 3-point shooter, but he's scoring sort of like you said.
But the way that offense works, like the floor is spaced, and he's a good straight line driver. If you can get in the paint and kick it out, you can make plays, which is what he's been doing. And he's a big guy who can get a guy in his hip and get to the basket.
Yeah. And he had a terrible second year. He really regressed last year, and I think this offense does suit him. And he also came in with a message to send. And the other thing is that Bam Adebayo went on to Prime Video on Friday night while the Heat were in LA and gave a demonstration with Norm Powell. Norm Powell didn't play on Sunday night, by the way.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to come back Monday against his old team, the Clippers.
But Bam has been like he's been really praising this offense a lot. A lot of his stuff was taken out because Bam's he's a roll man, and they used to run a lot of dribble handoffs. I mean, Bam became a max player, a multi-time All-Star, playing. I mean, mostly a defender, but a lot of his stuff, what was comfortable for him was taken out of the offense.
I'm not sure I love Bam taking all these threes, though. He's taking a lot of threes.
He's shooting. His shooting percentages are up from three, but yeah. So
he had a couple. He had a couple really hot shooting games early, and I think it started to come back the other way.
Well, he's shooting 7 threes a game. He's never taken more than 2.
Yeah,
and but his shooting percentage is the lowest it's ever been. So his efficiency.
Well, he's shooting almost half his shots. He's shooting almost half his shots from 3. I just don't. I don't know if that's a winning strategy.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's interesting. The league is sort of picked up on the Heat being very interesting early on with this system. By the way, speaking of the Heat, I've been meaning to say this for a week. I want to shout out their public address announcer, Michael Biamonte.
Another Discovery McMahon.
He's only been in the job 35 years. He announced this is going to be his last season, and he's absolutely a wonderful man, and I just wanted to shout him out. I mean, he's one of the guys you hear him and exactly.
Oh, I mean, he was the soundtrack of those Heatles teams,
right? He was the soundtrack of the Heat before then.
Well, no, but that's one of the iconic teams in the history of the league, and Biamonte's calls of those teams and those games that's become part of the soundtrack of the league.
Yeah. There's so many people in Miami that have been there for 30 years, and you go to Miami and it's like going to a mom and pop restaurant in a lot of ways. The
rare person is the person who's been there for less than 15. Most of them have been there for 20 or more.
But all, and this is the case at some other places, but like all of their staff there, all of the security guards, all of the people that run the scores table, all of those people have been there forever. And Michael is one of them. And he was very welcoming to me when I started coming to Heat games 15 years ago, when not everybody wanted to see ESPN around. Everybody sort of had their backup, trying to protect their big three. Everybody saw the big bad media and wanted to play defense. But I was treated beautifully by him, and he is aces at his job, and I hope he reconsiders because he's certainly not falling off on his performance. All right. I don't know what's going to happen by midday Monday when this podcast comes out, but the New Orleans Pelicans fell to 0-6 on Sunday. They lost by, let me do the math here.
31.
I mean, they were playing in Oklahoma City.
Here's all you got to say. The Pelicans have played 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost all 6 games. And they've lost 3 of the 6 games by at least 30 points.
Yeah.
That is
they're
not
29th in defense so far.
I'm honestly surprised they're not 30th. Who is 30th?
Probably Brooklyn without looking. Yeah.
Sure.
Brooklyn.
Well, and Brooklyn's plan this year is to stink. The Pelicans' plan was to be good enough to justify giving up their.
I don't know what the Pelican. I mean, to go back to the.
By the way, real quick,
what the Pelicans plan was.
I cannot emphasize how important it is for the Nets to finish with the bottom 4 record this year, which they are going to do, because their pick is top 8 protected. So the only way to guarantee a top 7 pick is to be in the bottom 4.
The Nets pick is not top 8 protected.
You're very confused on all these.
Yeah, I don't know what pick protection you have in your head, but they have to get.
Oh no, that's Washington. Washington has to finish. Yeah. Washington.
That's
All right,
right.
I take it
Washington's
back.
pick
Jackson,
is
help
not
me
being
out.
protected.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, you're right.
Don't help him, Jackson.
All right. Anyway, they're 0-6.
But don't worry, the Nets are going to be in the bottom 3 at the end of the season. I feel very confident.
And hey, the Pelicans very well could be too, and that's great for the Hawks. It's horrific for the Pelicans.
Well,
and
we
we
should
highly
also
doubt it's going to be Willie Green's problem.
we should also remind everybody, because we have talked a lot about this Hawks Pelicans trade, and Brian has made these tortured attempts to explain the process not being as important as the result. However, I'm just messing with you. We're not, don't try to defend it. The thing that has not been talked about, the thing that's not been talked about nearly enough, is during the NBA Finals, the New Orleans Pelicans made a trade with the Indiana Pacers, who were playing in the NBA Finals. And they gave the Indiana Pacers back their pick in the 2026 draft, which was top 4 protected. Now, it's important to remember it was top 4 protected, but still top 4 protected.
Yeah.
For the 22nd or 23rd pick in the draft. I don't remember which one at the
23rd.
I think it was the 23rd pick.
Yes, but at the time, Tyrese Halliburton had 2 healthy Achilles.
Well, hold on. Well, okay. Well, first of all,
so how about
saying, at the time,
let's talk about this after the finals ends.
At the time, Tyrese Halliburton was healthy. That is correct. However, there was absolutely no reason to make that trade before the finals were over. There was really no reason to make that trade at all because, again, the process of what's better, the 23rd pick right now, or the chance to have a pick between 5 and 30 the next year, there was a very good chance they were going to get the same or better pick the next year. There's really no good reason to do it other than you desperately wanted to get into this draft because you maybe wanted to go up and do stuff in the draft, which they wind up doing later. But the thing that matters is what happened at Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Tyrese Halliburton unfortunately got hurt. And the Pelicans could have been in a situation where, yes, their season is very bad, but they have their own pick, which could be the number 1 pick in the draft, in a loaded draft, again, for a team that continually gets the number 1 pick in the draft in loaded drafts. And they could have also got another top 10 pick from the Pacers, who did get their first win against the Warriors on Saturday night, but have a million injuries, are going to probably struggle this year, and very well could be in the lottery themselves. And instead, they turned it into the 23rd pick in the draft, and then use that to give away their first round pick the next year. And now they have no lottery picks in this year's draft, and they're 0-6, and it's a mess.
And now they're in the absolute worst position you can be in the NBA. And that's a bad team that doesn't benefit from being bad. And they are awful. Like, fellas, we don't have to worry about eating king cake at all unless we so desire. We ain't going to have to pay up on that bet. That's for sure. I mean, good Lord. I'm tempted to say we'll eat king cake if they get to 20 wins. But
well, they'll probably get to 20 wins because they're going to be trying in the back half of the year, and a lot of other teams aren't. But it's just a very rough. It's just a very rough situation.
Well, and you've got a new decision makers in the basketball personnel department, and they came in. Joe Dumars came in and decided clearly he was going to shake a lot of things up. He did not, as far as I know, make any attempts to trade Zion Williamson, and he did not.
No, they announced they were sticking with him.
They had him on the dais at the lottery.
Yeah,
right, and they did not make a change at head coach.
Well, yeah,
which
Well, and by the way, and before we get into the head coach thing, just to go back to the Ja conversation, like I think we have to say that at this point, Zion Williamson's sort of in the same boat.
Oh, 100%. Like, he's been in that boat.
He's a good to very good player, but he's just not.
He's very talented.
He's a very talented player, but he's just not the difference-making player that he was, expected to be.
I put LaMelo Ball
mostly, I think, through injury, but
yeah, I think those John Morant, LaMelo Ball, and Zion Williamson, the situations are all, they're not identical by any stretch, but I think they're all in that same category of extremely talented guys who've had flashes of brilliance, and I would not want to build a franchise around them.
Within the team, they signed DeAndre Jordan off the street and immediately started him.
Against Joker. Thanks, dude.
Which that's never good, especially in October. Jordan Poole started the first 3 games of the season and then got yanked from the starting lineup. And in 2 of the 3 games he's played off the bench has gone 2 of 11. They did have a narrow loss.
He was very good. He was very good in LA on Friday when they almost beat the Clippers.
Yes.
But the other 2 games have been a disaster. No,
yes.
I know. I know.
But, I'm not sure he's thrilled about not being in the starting lineup.
I mean, the first couple of games of the season, they were competitive. They lost close to lost close to John the Grizz. Then they lost in overtime to San Antonio. Had a couple chances to win that game. But since then, 32 to Boston without Zion, 34 at Denver, the Kawhi game winner on Friday, and then 31 at Oklahoma City. I know it's Denver, Oklahoma City, and it's a decent Boston team, but the Pelicans are healthy. They shouldn't be losing to these teams by 30.
Oh,
I'm not saying should be winning, but
Zion missed the one game with the
one game
bone contusion on his foot.
He still shouldn't be
after one game.
They still shouldn't be losing by 34.
By the way, the Thunder are 7-0, and Chet and Jalen Williams hasn't played yet.
Oh, so Jalen Williams had to get another procedure, which was not planned.
Oh yeah, we should talk about that.
He got there was a screw that the plan was to leave the screw in the wrist in, and he was like, what they anticipated was late in the return to play procedure. But the screw was bothering him, so he went back to the surgeon, had that screw removed, and they announced this. It was a classic Friday news dump, and they said he'd be reevaluated in 10 to 14 days. Honestly, I wasn't shocked. Just because I watched him shoot, I watched his pregame. I think they were in Dallas. I believe it was Monday, anyway, earlier in the week, and he really shot the 3 poorly. I was like, "Ooh, man! Like he doesn't look that close." Like I thought he was going to. I was thinking I was watching is he going to be back next week? Like, what's this look like? Anyway, so it's going to be a little bit more time for him. Chet played that game on Monday when he was questionable with lower back soreness, but hasn't played since. They did get Isaiah Joe back, who just comes back, swish, 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 launching threes. And they just keep rolling along, 7-0.
Yeah. Shea had 30 points in 30 minutes today, and he said after the game, well, first off, his house got broken into.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Which, in a place like Oklahoma City, I feel like they're going to track those individuals down.
I hope so.
Well, I think
there's been an unfortunate rash of this happening with athletes across the country.
But I thought they busted a ring in Southern California that was doing it.
Yeah, they busted a ring.
Hopefully they figure it out.
A lot of them.
Yeah. Anyway, but Shea said after the game that he thinks that their team is better than it was a year ago, and I think that just extrapolating what he thinks, I think it's because they're getting so much more production up and down the lineup even than they were a year ago. And AJ Mitchell had another strong game with 10 points and 8.
I mean, they have the most wins to start. They have the most wins to start a season by a defending champion since the 15-16 Warriors, who went 24-0. And I have thought since the summer, we talked about on the pod, they've reminded me a lot of the 14-15 Warriors and the 15-16 Warriors coming into this season. Because again, if you go back to the summertime, it was far from unanimous that people thought the Thunder were going to win again. There were people poking holes in them here and there, and Denver can beat them, or Houston can beat them, or whoever. But it wasn't. This team just won 68 games, rolled through the playoffs, is one of the youngest teams in the league, has everybody back, right? Just like back in 2015, the Warriors won. There were all these questions about, were they actually the real team they won? I know they ultimately didn't win. However, in the interim, they won 73 games and went back to the finals and lost, probably the greatest finals we've seen, back and forth with LeBron. So I think they've got a chance to win 70 games this year. And the fact that they're off to this kind of start, it doesn't really surprise me at all. And I remember talking to somebody in the preseason, and they were talking about the fact that when you win a title like this, and you come back the next year, like to Shay's point about everybody being better, you just have so much more confidence when you come back after winning. And this is a group of a bunch of, mid-20s guys who won.
It's also unusual for a championship team to bring back their whole roster. Typically, even if it's not core players, even if it's high-level role players,
right?
The guys get paid, move on or whatever. But they bring back their whole roster, and so
it looks like it.
Yeah, for sure.
And they had a historic, not just season last year, but like their point differential was historic, and it's right. It's 12.4, right in that same range. Again, right now. And fellas, let me give you something.
And their second or third best player has not played. And whether you have him ahead of Chet or not, Jalen Williams. And Chet has been in and out of the lineup, like you said.
Second or third most talented player, or second or third best player?
The guy who's been all
NBA,
right? The guy who's coming off an all NBA season. The guy who had 40. In
their all NBA wing who had 40 in the finals hasn't played yet. And they're 7-0 with a 12-point differential. It's pretty good.
And by the way, they shot it well today. They were the worst 3-point shooting team in the league before today. They were sub 30% going into.
Well, that's one of the things that people say is that their shooting could be better.
Well, they're shooting it now. They're ranked 29th now at 31.5%.
That'll come up.
Yeah, that's my point. That's my point. They're the last undefeated team. They're pretty good.
All right, so McMahon, you're going to be seeing the Mavericks tomorrow. You're catching up with them in Houston. By the way, the Rockets without Fred VanVleet have the number one offense in the league. We've been talking about
by a long shot
the Heat, but they are blasting teams.
Just smoked the Celtics on Saturday night in Boston.
Yeah, the Celtics have had a couple of good wins recently too, and
saw a scout who saw them who was very impressed. It's also a horrible matchup for Boston, which is not a very big team. And as we know, the Rockets might be the league's biggest team. So tough sledding for them, and it showed in that game.
So they got beat. Jalen Duren and Cade Cunningham both had huge games. They played in Mexico City on Saturday, the annual Mexico City game.
Played Dallas, just to be clear. People that don't know.
You're talking about Dallas got beat.
Yeah.
By the way, this is a first versus worst matchup in Houston. The first ranked offense against the worst ranked offense.
Yeah. So
got a Lucas-sized hole on that offense.
Along,
I would say, and that Lucas-sized when he was about 25 pounds heavier.
Along those lines, Jason Kidd, who, if I'm not mistaken, maybe scolded's too strong of a word, but corrected people for being
pushed back on some Kyrie reporting.
Firmly pushed back.
Yeah. And now he completely restarted it.
Well, I actually didn't see this quote. What did he say?
Do you have the exact quote in front of you, Wendy?
Right, hold on. I should have.
I can get it real quick. This was kind of an offhand comment that he made in Mexico City. I think he was asked something about like how Kyrie will fit when he comes back or whatever. And the exact quote.
We just can't wait to get Kai back at some point. Hopefully it's in the year 25, not 26, but we'll see what happens.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, basically saying, hey, hopefully we can get Kyrie back in late December. Which honestly, the little bit that I've seen of Kyrie since training camps opened, like post-practice stuff and whatever, I've been surprised like how much he's doing, like, shooting off the move, making moves, putting the ball on the floor, changing directions, those kind of things. So, hey, it'd be great if Kyrie could get back in late December. It'd be great if he can get back in January. It'd be great if he can get back before the midway point of the season. But what's not great is their offense without Kyrie. Holy crap, do they stink offensively. And that's what the rough thing about the loss to the Pistons in Mexico City. They wasted a 31-point D'Angelo Russell performance. D'Lo first of all, their offense has been a hell of a lot better with D'Lo on the floor than off, despite the fact that until that game in Mexico City, he really was struggling shooting the ball. He lit it up there, and they still lost. But look, man, it's just the roster without Kyrie. There's such a lack of playmaking and shooting, and there's a lot of different factors here. Obviously, You're starting an 18-year-old at point guard who's never played the position before. And look, man, I'm not selling any Cooper Flagg stock, but it's a struggle for him, man. Like, he has the second worst plus minus in the league. His shooting numbers are unsightly, to say the least. I think he's a good passer for a 6'9", 18-year-old forward. He's not a good passer for an NBA point guard. Certainly not right now. The one guy who has a worse plus minus in the league than Cooper Flagg is Klay Thompson.
Oops.
And like, he's the one shooter in the lineup, and you know, it's been a rough start for Klay, to say the least. And you know, then you're always going to have these spacing problems. You know, we've talked many times over the years about AD.
What'd you say Cooper's plus minus was?
Minus 69
in 5 games.
6.
Okay.
Yeah, they're 2 and 4. Minus 69 is not a nice number for a 6-game plus.
Good
minus.
job there, McMahon.
Yes.
I just went back and looked.
I'm as mature as most 18-year-olds.
I just went back and looked at LeBron's first 5 games, because the similarities. Now the skill set is different. I'm not going to get into who's more talented, Bonta. The skill set is a little different, but it was similar in the fact that LeBron was being asked to play point guard. He hadn't really prepared to play point guard, and it just sort of was foisted on him because he didn't have a point guard.
Yeah.
LeBron was minus 43 in his first 5 games, which the Cavs lost all 5.
Yeah. Now the difference is those Cavs didn't go into the season thinking they had a chance to contend for a championship.
That's fair.
You know.
Well, I mean, wait a second.
Hey, I'm just saying.
Who actually thought that?
Well,
The
Stephen A.
Mavericks
picked them to go to the finals.
Dude, every day they were talking about championship, this and that. I'm not saying I agreed. I told
right.
you.
Okay, that's fine. If they were talking about it, then they deserve it. Like,
I mean,
I don't think anybody.
I'm telling you what they're
rational
saying. You know, I'm telling you what they're saying.
That.
But like the spacing concerns with AD playing with a rim running 5, those are always going to exist. You know, PJ Washington is their secondary ball handler in the starting lineup. I like him a lot better as a 4th option than a second ball handling option. He's also, you know, he can get hot, but he's not, I wouldn't say he's a feared 3-point shooter. And like I said, the other thing about Cooper Flagg, like when scouts talked about him, or executives, people around the league talked about him, it was a while before they brought up like scoring and playmaking and those kind of things. The thing about him is he can do so many things well, but people talked about him as on the defensive end more than they did as like some kind of offensive engine.
Yes,
I don't know if he'll ever be an offensive engine.
I think in time his offense is going to be just fine. I would also say that he is in a pretty awful immediate position, which I do think in the long term, him playing point guard right now and taking lumps and having the ball and doing all this stuff will be immensely beneficial. But he's playing on a team with no shooting around him. Anthony Davis is averaging 20 and 10 and shooting 52%, which is like good numbers for a normal player. But like
he's been out.
Well, now I'm saying now he's hurt. But I'm saying before that, that's what he's doing on the year. And like for this team to have a chance to be competitive while Kyrie is out, Anthony Davis needed to be putting up like first team or second team All NBA numbers. He wasn't doing that, right? So you have that problem. You have the sacred cow of Klay Thompson clearly needing to be in the starting lineup, which is not working and is a problem that they seemingly can't do anything about, as McMahon just laid out. Like the plus-minus number backs up the play on the court. Like I love Klay.
His net rating,
incredible career,
26.5.
Yeah, I mean that's unfathomable. Like you can't keep going forward with that. But I think the Mavericks are probably in a position where they kind of have to.
No, they have to play him. They have to. They just have to. They just can't play him at point guard.
No, we're talking about Klay Thompson.
Klay.
Oh, Klay.
Not Cooper.
Sorry.
Klay. Starting Klay is what I was referring to. Like, you know, but that's again, like it's an incredibly awkward. Like, look, VJ Edgecombe had an incredible start, right? The last couple of games he's had like 13, 14 points and a couple assists. But he can kind of go back and forth because he's got Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, and they have like kind of they have a fairly functioning team around him. So when he has a 35-point game in the opener, you're like, holy crap, look at what VJ Edgecombe is doing. But if he has an okay game or a so-so game on another night, it doesn't really matter. It's just part of the story. But
and the other thing
the
is
Mavs,
he's not getting
Cooper
the
Flag,
best. He's not getting the best defensive player like Cooper Flag is every night.
Exactly. So Cooper is going to be just fine, and he's going to be a stud, and all this in the long term is going to be a positive for him. But the team it's like we talked about before. Like the Mavs have gotten up to 8th in defense. That's closer to where they needed to be competitive, especially if you take away the drubbing they got in the opener against the Spurs. But the offense has just got to get better. And I think part of that is like AD had to be better. We'll see how long he's going to be out with this Achilles soreness. That's pretty scary.
They're calling it now a low-grade calf strain. He missed the Mexico City game. He'll miss the game in Houston. Then they say he'll be reevaluated. Better be a pretty low-grade calf strain if he's going to be back that quickly.
Calf strains, as we've talked about many times, are very scary injuries. It's not great.
Especially for guys in their 30s.
Well, yes. and look, the simple fact of the matter is AD started the season heavy. And
yes,
you
asked him about it.
For a Mavericks star to start the season heavy and then strain his calf, I've got my head on a swivel for a trade coming.
Well, and look, and the other thing is, look, I mean, he's only playing 20 minutes a game, but Clay's shooting under 30% from three. He's there.
Just to be clear, he was joking because that could be used against you.
Oh, sorry. Yes, aggregators. That was a joke. God, I'm sorry, I forgot it.
And Clay is shooting under 30% from three, and as McMahon said, the plus minus is minus 78. Like
since they signed Klay Thompson, the team has changed dramatically. And
the idea of Klay Thompson was he was going to get spoon-fed 8 butt-naked, wide-open looks per game, and they don't have playmakers now.
Yeah, it's
and look, hopefully Kyrie can come back in late December, early January, whatever. To think that Kyrie's going to come fresh off of an ACL recovery in his 30s and just put the tape on and rescue this thing.
And look, I'm sure he's worked very hard, but I have watched guys coming off of ACL injuries look great in their individual workouts, and it's just such a recovery.
It just remains confusing to me, and we don't need to relitigate the Austin Reeves part of the trade. That obviously that ship has sailed. But even after they made the trade, I just remain confused at the fact that we talked about the second they made the trade. Again, setting aside whether they should have got Austin Reeves or not, obviously they should have. They had no guards on the roster when they made the trade, and coming into the season, the only guy they had on the roster that they added was D'Angelo Russell. They didn't make any kind of roster move to try to get more ball handlers
their
on the
roster
team.
Move was drafting Cooper Flag.
Well, I understand that, but they did nothing beyond that. Even.
I agree with
you. They needed probably 2 more guys.
You know how I felt about playing a teenager at point guard.
But that's not. And playing Cooper Flag at point guard is not.
Well, he's a teenager who had never played it before, but it's part of the reason they're struggling. And look.
Well, yes, but I mean that they don't have any other option besides D'Angelo Russell. Like they should have 3 or 4 guys who can handle the ball, and instead it's literally just Cooper Flag or D'Angelo Russell, and that's it.
Brandon Williams he actually had 20 in their win over the Pacers.
Brandon Williams is a nice player
out in the last second. But hey, defense wins championships. Dead last offense gets you another lottery ticket. I can guarantee you that. Hey, dude, Luka had more points in the first 3 games he played this season than anybody on the Mavericks had in 6. Like it's just, and
Oof, I mean that's a tough stat.
It's dude. And here's the thing: we started this podcast off talking about the situation in Memphis, where the Grizzlies might be approaching a point where they decide Ja's just not worth the headaches. Frankly, that's the decision Nico Harrison made about Luka Doncic last year. And I'm not going to debate all about what were legitimate headaches, whatever. The big difference is this. Luka had proven without a doubt that he could drive, not just winning, but
Luka was coming off going to the finals. Yeah.
Luka was a 5-time first-team All-NBA selection. He was unquestionably a top 5 player in the league who had just gone to the finals while leading the league in scoring and averaging damn near a triple-double. And by the way, a couple years before that, took a completely different supporting cast to the Western Conference Finals. So if you are going to make that kind of trade, you better win.
You better be right.
All right. Before we wrap it up, Jackson gave out you and Jackson plotted on some voicemail.
Not me and Jackson. This is all Jackson's doing.
This is Jackson.
Okay.
This is
Mike
Jackson.
Walczewski sent me an incredible little message, which we played, and I sent it to Jackson. And Jackson, totally on his own, came up with this whole idea about calling into the phone line.
Jackson
got a lot of messages.
He's promoted. He's now called himself the executive producer. He's got a chair and everything.
All right, Jackson.
Super producer.
Selection of the, as they used to say on Car Talk, from the dozens of messages that we got. None of you guys have any idea what
I know what Car Talk is.
No idea.
There's no way Jackson
I
knows.
guarantee you Jackson doesn't know.
I don't know what Car Talk is. I know 6'7".
Those are two different eras.
I still don't know what 6'7" is.
Jackson, do you have a couple of answers of a sampling that we got this week?
I do. Here are a couple.
Ooh, the mystery voice chimes in.
I believe Wendy is going to be in Sykesville, Missouri, where they manufacture and distribute his Brill cream because he's looking a little dry on the top. So I expect he's going to get a refill.
Oof, dry on the, what does that even mean?
Your hair, Brill cream.
I'm looking dry?
That's what they say.
Oh.
That's what the people are saying, apparently.
And we
have
one
coming for your neck.
Worthy of selection.
Hey fellas, John from Boston. I'm calling on Halloween. Not sure where Wendy's going to be for the next podcast, but I can guarantee that tonight Wendy will be at his house with the lights off, hiding from trick-or-treaters. All right, thanks guys.
That was true at one time, but I
have
a
now
7-year-old.
He's got his. I was going to say he's got his guy to take around.
Yeah, no. I have this. I leave this giant vat of candy in front of my house, and I go out with my.
What was your guy for Halloween?
He was what is it called? Like, what is the Scream character called? Ghostface? Is that Ghostface?
Sure.
Is that the name of it?
Yeah,
the Scream mask.
Yes, that guy. Okay.
And with it was red with horns.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So you were just, like rolling around and collecting candy?
Yeah, the thing is he
Rolling
wore it
around.
for he wore it for 4 houses and then rolled it off.
Of course.
Okay.
And I
You just wanted to see he had to see the candy.
Yes. So no, I for years now I have participated by leaving when we go out trick or treating with my son. I leave the thing of candy.
We do the same, but we leave the big thing of candy. Hopefully one kid doesn't take them all, but hey, what happens happens.
Right.
And then we go to this one particular street that I'll be honest with you, some rich folks live there, and it's like a kind of a contest. Like they've all got like unbelievable decorations, and you're talking, they give out the jumbo size candy bars and all that. And I tend to hang out at this one house that has a bar out front.
You tend to hang out there. Interesting.
Yes. Jeff Van Gundy lit me up. 7 or 8 years ago when I said I keep the lights off. By the way, there's a lot of people keep the lights off.
Listen,
this is something that definitely happened in Texas. The neighborhood, I live very close to a high school football powerhouse, and they had a playoff game on Friday night. There was quite a few people that were at the game.
Oh yeah,
and had their lights off. All right. Well, I don't Brill cream. I'm gonna have to do some research on that. And I'm in Omaha, by the way. So Jackson rolled this out when I'm in, and I'm going to be in Omaha this week. So I don't know. McMahon's the one going to LA this week.
It's true.
All right. We ran out of time to talk about the Knicks and the Bulls. Bontemps, I'm sorry.
There'll be more days.
1 a.m.
Though not more days to talk about the undefeated Bulls. The unbeaten Bulls are no more.
Only one Ellen Bulls, though.
All right, Jackson is definitely the most talented executive producer. Thank you, Jackson. Thank you, Bontemps. Thank you, McMahon. Travel safe this week. And we'll talk to you later this week.
Adios, amigos.